Last and least in the factions of Total War Attila, at least compared to the Eastern Roman Empire, the smaller cousin in the Western Roman Empire, they have a similar roster with a few very important differences. Now, for generals, you have the Palatina Guards. They are almost carbon copies of the Suebi, the noble Germanic swordsmen. Terrible melee stats, but very tanky in terms of armor and health. They also have the attacking testudo, which is going to give them a nice bonus against infantry. However, I much prefer having a mobile cavalry general. So the Comes, not quite as tanky as the Magister Militum. The Magister Militum is a beast. He wields a sword in close combat, and he can deal with a lot of enemy units by mass and charge alone. The Comes are not that far behind the Magister Militum, actually. He's still a good unit, and he also has the steady ability. But I mainly go for the Magister Militum. He's not that much better than the Comes. Both are good choices, just not very good against enemy cavalry. For spears, the Romans have a nice selection. These units are basically the same. There are very small differences between them. If you're going to bring spears, the differences are, there are small differences in armor and melee attack. I tend to think that the Comitatense spears are the better choice compared to the Western Auxilia Palatina. These units have defensive testudo, which is going to make them almost, well, basically impervious to missiles from the front, because they already have a missile block chance of 50%, and when that missile block chance increases by 50%, they are going to be invulnerable to conventional missiles from the front. So very useful if you find yourself in that situation. It's also going to be good against cavalry because it increases mass, and the bonus against cavalry gets pretty substantial. That, together with expert charge, means that the Western Auxilia Palatina, and indeed all of these Palatina units, they require substantial cavalry to kill. Then we have the Federati Spears. They have square, which makes them special. Square, not massively useful. Decent enough. Square is going to increase attack against cavalry, and it's going to increase shield defense, but it's going to mean that more missiles hit them. Then we have the Cornuti Signores. Good tanky spear unit, a bit on the expensive side. It has a missile weapon, and it also has the defensive testudo. So a more sturdy unit than the other units, but it's very expensive, and in my opinion it's not often you need to bring the Cornuti Signores. For infantry, we have the Exploratores and the Preventores. These are, again, in my opinion, single player specific units. They have very questionable use in multiplayer. I mean, you can do some nice things with them, with just with the ignore terrain, hiding, and rapid advance. That means they can move really, really quickly in terrain that would hinder other troops, like forests and stuff, but difficult to make them work because their combat performance is so poor. Then we have a nice little unit in the Palatina. Good health, good armor, good melee defense. All around a decent defensive unit. This unit, the Palatina and the Protectores Domestici, have attacking testudo. The Protectores, also a great unit, better than the Palatina. 60 armor and 137 health is a steal for the price. They underperform significantly compared to units like the Hildman and the Hearthguard of the Saxons. But still a nice unit to bring, very sturdy. We have the Armigeri Defensores, and now the units that have attacking testudo as well. So sort of an upgrade from their Protectores Domestici. But they have better melee stats and worse armor and health. Better morale, good unit. The cohorts, now they start getting the defensive testudo, which doesn't increase attack against infantry, and that is very problematic for the cohorts because they're not good at anything. Sure, they have decent health, they have decent morale, they have a precursor, but look at their melee stats. 1 charge bonus, 19 melee attack. It's not going to do anything. It's the cohorse is a terrible unit. The Legio is slightly better, but still, whether you get charged or whether you charge in defensive testudo, it's not really going to make much of a difference. You're probably going to get wrecked anyway. Same with the Legio Comitatenses, better in terms of they still only have a charge bonus of 5, so whether you brace or charge doesn't make a huge difference. They have 2 missiles, which is nice with good range. The Elite Palatina, now things are starting to look a lot better in terms of charge bonus, 37 charge bonus, 62 melee attack, very nice. Unfortunately, they only have 25 armor, which makes them very vulnerable indeed. They have rapid advance, attacking testudo again, so in attacking testudo, they are a decent unit, but they don't have the armor or the health to stand up to a charge in attacking testudo, which limits the usefulness of the attacking testudo. The Herculeani Seniores are a very good melee unit, very expensive, but 14 armor piercing on their swords, 20 charge, good armor, good health, just overall a good infantry unit. But the same thing applies to the Herculeani Seniores as applies to every other good melee unit, gets wrecked by cavalry. Cheap archers, not much to say about them. For crossbows, you have a very strong selection of crossbows. You can bring the Elite Ballistari with armor and a decent amount of bolts. Also, you have the precision shot, the barrage and flaming, which is going to boost their shots per minute, and it's also going to give them 138 missile damage. So the flaming shot for the crossbow actually does 25 AP and 75 base, which means that the standard shot here for the crossbow gives 50 AP, which is very nice. But when you more than double the missile damage, that is better in every single scenario. There is no scenario where it's better to use standard shot than it is to use flaming plus barrage. Flaming plus barrage and precision shot. Not one single instance. Then we have the Ravenna Elite Ballistari, an upgrade from the Elite Ballistari. They have more ammo, but that's it basically. They are not significantly better in any regard other than that they encourage. Crossbows are already expensive. I mean, these Ballistari are very cheap, very nice. They don't have precision, which kind of limits their killing potential, but still a very dangerous unit if it's left unchecked. Funditores, your basic slingers, high rate of fire, high base damage, no AP, decreases enemy charge speed and speed, which can be useful. The Western Romans have a nice selection of javelins. We have the levies, can do a lot of damage to enemy cavalry, but die very easily. Then we have the Matiari, slightly better unit. They have one more ammo, have a bit of armor on them, rapid advance, which helps. Esculcatores are decent. They have less armor than the Matiari for some reason. I'm not quite sure what I'm paying for when I'm bringing the Esculcatores, except for the one additional missile. I prefer the Matiari, to be honest. And also very low health on the Esculcatores compared to the Matiari. Then we have the Noble Federati Javelin and 12 ammo, 90 damage, precision, rapid advance, bit of armor, decent unit. They, by the looks of it, they are also using their spears in close combat, which, let's see if they've managed to put that in. I'm not 100% on that because I haven't checked in the database what if they indeed have a spear, but 32 melee damage usually means that they wield a spear in close combat. Then we have the Scout Equites, useless unit. The Equites Dalmatae, another unit of questionable utility compared to the Equites Promoti and the Scoloia Palatinae. Now the Equites Promoti have a decent amount of health. They have decent armor. They have 2 heavy javelins that do a lot of damage to cavalry. They have a 30 bonus versus cavalry. So if you bring Equites Promoti, you do not want to use them to take the first charge. That would be for the Skoloia Palatinae, and then send these guys around to throw javelins into the backs of enemy cavalry units. Then you can actually win some cavalry engagements, because these units are going to have a massively hard time against the Germanic horsemen that are so abundant in other factions' rosters. So it can be worth it to upgrade these units, but you do not get as much in return as you get from the Germanic horsemen. If you're up against good shock cavalry, it's essential that you use the diamond. If not, you are going to lose. You also have some cheap shock cavalry in the form of Contari. They are a decent unit. A step up from the Contari, we have the Cataphractari, and I tend to think that the upgrade is worth it, although you don't get a massive increase in stats from the Contari to the Cataphractari. The Contari are a nice cheap unit for killing infantry. Then we have the Skoloia Gentiles, cheap unit for its charge bonus, but overall it's not a good unit compared to the Cataphractari. It has less health, it has less armor, it has more melee defense, but that is of questionable use against enemy cavalry. So, let's have a look at the units of the Western Romans. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm in a... Looks like I am in an ambush battle, because me and Indie Pride played an ambush battle before this, which was horrible, by the way, because I deployed with my cavalry inside his army, so that was a bad time. But okay, so here we have the Western Romans. We have the Sagittari, the Ballistari, the Elite Ballistari, Ravenna Elite Ballistari. Decent looking units, though I much prefer the Barbarian units in terms of how they look. The Matiari, very cool looking unit. Then we have the Exculcatores. They look a bit archaic with their breastplates. Skoloia Gentiles, very cool looking unit. Contari, another cool looking unit. Equites Promoti, beastly spears on these guys. Then we have the Scout Equites with massive swords. A single player specific unit. Herculiani Seniores. Let's have a look at the Herculiani again, because yep, they are cool and very good. Then we have the Elite Palatina, the Legio Comitatenses, Legio, Cohorts, Armigeri Defensores in scale armor and chainmail, Protectores Domestici, great units, Preventores, Palatina in scale, Exploratores, again with the slightly archaic armor, Cataphractari, Skoloia Palatina, Equites Dalmatae, and the Magister himself. So it's almost tempting. You know what? I'm actually going to just, for the hell of it, I'm going to wreck, or try to wreck this Sassanid army here. Let's see. Let's just put our spears over here in defensive testudo. Keep these guys over here and use my infantry to rush here, and then use my cavalry to rush here. I am at a slight advantage here in terms of the balance of power and such, but let's just pretend I'm not. Kill the elephants. The elephants are just... Here you can see the effect of javelins and flaming on elephants. They're not going to have a good time there. get in and take care of the cavalry. Not a whole lot of spear support there for the Sassanids, so...
The enemy general is fallen!
Enemy general dead already. Good. Send my magister around to take care of the enemy siege equipment. Not the most exciting battle, I imagine, but I just felt like playing this. Magister Militum wrecking the siege crews. I really hope the AI just doesn't run away. And here you can see the issue with the AI trying to disengage all the time from cavalry fights, which is not very effective in this game. Here it comes with some cavalry, so I probably should try to get my spears in there. Ooh! Nafts exploding. Finish off these units. And here you can see the effect of crossbows against cavalry. It's absolutely insane how quickly crossbows can kill. And here you'll see the problem with slow skirmish units. When I hit charge speed here with my scout equites, and these Persian camel archers don't have Parthian, I'm just going to be able to follow them for as long as I please, and in this case it's going to be to the red line, and then even my scout equites should be able to wreck the Persian camel archers. They do have a beastly amount of health, but I don't think that's going to help them against even scout equites. I also had some Dalmatai here, so they should finish off the camels.
The men are broken and running for their lives.
I actually managed to break some of my units with the GNF spar here. The Shaidan Immortal Cavalry gets wrecked by Ballistari. Persian camels still alive, amazingly enough. That should be the end of the Royal Persians.
Our men are rallying. They're not done yet.
And that's the army breaking and wavering and GG, I think. If I can just take care of the Shaidan Immortals. Attack orders from all sides, and they get caught by cavalry. Yep, so sorry about that. Now, heroic victory. Wow, I must be really good at this game. So, in terms of builds that are viable with the Western Romans, you have a problem as the Western Romans, because you are going to be outmatched in cavalry, most likely. So first, the competitive side of things. I like something like this. A few Armigeri, a few Protectores, and it depends. If there's a cavalry limit, usually it's going to be 6, 8 or 10. So it's going to depend on that, what you choose to bring. But 6 Palatinae are that's a good choice. Now, you're not going to get as much out of your gold Roman cav as you're going to get out of your barbarian cav. That's just something to be aware of. They cannot take the abuse that barbarian cavalry can take. So for the remaining funds, you can bring, for example, some extra ballistari. You can bring additional cavalry, which is what I tend to prefer, since cavalry is ridiculously strong. And then you can bring, if you want some cheap archers, that's something I also like to do. Just have some cheap archers to pour flaming fire into the enemy cavalry. And also, people will tend to go for Sagittari with their cavalry, which gives your cavalry more time to deal with enemy cavalry. So this is something that can be quite fun to play with competitively. for just a straight up role-playing build, a build that isn't maybe not the strongest but can be fun, that I also like to play around with. I'm going to have some Legio Comitatenses, I'm going to have some auxiliaries, not go quite as cavalry heavy, a few Contrari and then a few elite ballistari, or take out the unit if I want to save some funds and bring the then I can, for example, have some Comitatenses instead. Something like this can be nice to play with. If you want to go even heavier on the infantry, it's not really advisable in the current state of Attila, but something like this could also be fun to play with. It's just going to be a matter of getting the spears into the cavalry fight and not getting wrecked by the superior enemy infantry, which, I mean, with this type of build against most factions, the only advantage you're going to have is in close range skirmishing, and that's going to be difficult to pull off. So the Western Roman Empire is definitely not a power faction in Attila. It can be fun to play with though, but it's just not very strong in any single one category. Favorite units would be the Protectores Domestici, basically because they are so cheap, and crossbows because of the extreme wreck they can cause to enemy units. Strength and honor.